美しい我が心、差し込む一条の光、恨みはそれにさえ背を向ける。情けを闇に封じ込め、重い鎧をまとい天に誓う。届け心の叫びよ、悲しみよ。
分かつともかみ吠えよ同じ月、我ら孤独の民、癒せこの悲痛。
思ってるよね。多分ね。ありがとう。
生きるはなぜ、神を見守れ、この我が試練、傷つきし我が心、差し込む一条の光、分かつともかみ吠えよ同じ月、我ら孤独の民、癒せこの
Hello, I'm Erika Ishii. I play Atsu, the ghost of Yōtei. Wow, that's wild. And today I have with me the director of Sucker Punch's audio director, the Reverend Dr. Brad Meyer, and music composer, and our music composer, Toma Otoa. Thank you both so much for being with me here today. We're going to have a little discussion and listen to a couple of the tracks. So to start us off, Brad, what inspired the story of Ghost of Yōtei?
Well,
I actually don't know this one.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I think both Ghost games were heavily inspired by samurai cinema. And for Ghost of Yōtei, Yojimbo was kind of our North Star. You know, just this kind of wanderer who walks into a village, deals with things her own way, and ends up helping people in the end. And that was really kind of the impetus. You know, there's these aspects of Lady Snowblood with the vengeance, but really the core of Atsu is that she starts off as this lone wolf on a vengeance quest, who then, you know, over the course of the game, she finds her wolf pack, and she finds greater meaning than just revenge and vengeance.
Yeah, Yojimbo was also kind of a touch point for me too, especially in the rudeness of it, being rude. But Toma, you are the perfect person to have created a Japanese Western soundtrack. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you integrated it into the score?
Yeah, so when I first got this project, you know, it's going to be feudal Japan meets Wild West. I was like, oh my God, this is like my life kind of in general, because I was born in Japan and raised in the countryside, and I came to the States as a foreign exchange student, and I was sent to Oklahoma. You know, I put down the request, you know, like, oh, I'd like to go to Oregon and San Francisco, but the organization was like, congratulations, we found your host family in Oklahoma. And I'm like, okay, and I looked at the map, and it was, you know, this unknown territory for me. But fortunately, I had a very good experience over there, and people taught me English over there, and I got to learn this sort of like it was pre-modern, but it still had the taste of Western culture. The first phrase I learned in English was "howdy, partner," not knowing what that meant. So, and little did I know that 35 years later, I would be mixing those two elements of my Japanese roots with my experiences in the States as I was sort of like growing up and teenager. So.
Yeah, it's such a natural combination, the two of them, because, you know, as we all know, samurai cinema and spaghetti westerns were very much a mutual influence on each other. And so, I mean, Atsu, I think her story starts to incorporate the Western themes, whereas Tsushima felt very solidly Kurosawa.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of it, too, is the location, right? We chose Ezo in part because it was this kind of lawless frontier, and because it was so expansive, much like we think of the Wild West. And that was really the touchstone for us to be like, what if we try Wild West through the lens of feudal Japan? And, you know, Toma just nailed that aesthetic perfectly.
Yeah, what was it like meeting with the team for the first time?
Well, you know, nervous as today. It's I think for composers, like the initial meetings are always sort of like, oh my God, I have to leave a good impression, and I always mess it up anyways. But you know, like I do
You're
my
so
best.
good. You're so
Luckily, I had a great team. People were very, you know, supportive, and you know, they were able to share. You guys shared a lot of that. This is what we're looking into, and these are the sound that we might be looking into. But there were a lot of open space to sort of explore into finding the tone. So I had a great time. You know, it took like 2.5 years to complete this entire score. So it was like, I was joking like, wow, this is like going to college again. It's like a class of 2025, you know, this Ghost of Yōtei class. So yeah, we spent some really great amount of time exploring and really finding the right tone for this project.
Yeah, and the first track that you created, that was 3 years ago?
Almost
3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think the first song that I heard was Mother's Song.
Okay.
But the first one that you wrote was Way of the Shamisen?
Way of the Shamisen?
Yeah, Atsu's theme, Way of the Shamisen, and I forget what we ended up calling the other one, but 3 songs that are on the soundtrack, are on there almost verbatim to what the demos were that we got from Toma, which is, I think, a testament to how iconic they are.
How did you find each other?
So the PlayStation team had worked with Toma on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Oh. And so they were like, hey, we've got this great composer for you guys. Here's a song of his, and it was the credit song from Ratchet and Clank, which is called Join Me at the Top, which is a beautiful, hilarious Broadway song that is nothing like you would expect to hear from Ghost. And we were like, really? And they're like, no, trust us, he's great. And then we met him, and he was great. And then he wrote music for us, and he was really great. So, yeah, it was fortuitous that, you know, our PlayStation team had worked with him, and yeah, this could not have been a better match.
Yeah, it really is kind of a match made in heaven. And that first track we have, which is pretty much just as he sent it. We're going to take a listen to The Way of the Shamisen. Was real good. It's real good. So, Brad, we hear that theme throughout a lot of the wolf missions and the wolf companion scenes. How did you make that association?
Well, it's interesting because when we got this track, we loved it, and we struggled to find a place to put it in the game. Because, you know, Atsu's story is one of just loneliness and revenge. And there's this element of joy almost to this.
She's not really very joyful, no.
I mean, occasionally, but she's been through a lot of trauma. So yeah, there's just this kind of element of just like levity and fun and joy in it. And so we struggled to figure out where it should go. And then when we got the kind of these wolf den chases in, it's really fun. You're going super fast. You're following this wolf. And so I dropped it in there, and it was just like, oh, yeah, this is a great place to use it. And then from there, it kind of spiraled so that then, oh, now you're going to have a song that you're going to use to summon the wolf. Well, we have to use elements from the song because now it's tied to the wolf. So it kind of became this iconic thing just because of that energy that it has in it.
And Toma, you did not know there was going to be a wolf in the game when you
I
wrote
did not know until the trailer came out. I was like, oh, there's a wolf.
And the trailer also featured the song, actually.
Yeah, so I was like, ooh, nice looking wolf. What I'd like to believe is I had a great team. You know, I honestly can't take whole credit to myself, even though this feels like, oh, let's look at Toma's final exam and how he answered and what he did. You know, by having everybody listen to it in front of me, it's kind of, you know, nerve-wracking. But I had.
You have to look at my face. It's weird, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You hear the whole show, and. Yeah, but I had a great team. And we all pitched in like ideas. Your vision, Jason and Nate, who couldn't be here, their vision, and wonderful team at SIE. I tend to sort of derail in the conversation and also in my writing too. Sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, look at this pretty melody," and then my brilliant team would be like, "Toma, I don't think that's quite our thing." I was like, "Oh, that's right. Well, let me rewrite it." So it's like they kind of kept me on track.
But when you have those little things that you write in the notes, then do you take that and it becomes something else?
Yeah, no, I take all of the notes, but I feel like whatever ends up in the last final mix, and even I was unconscious about what I was supposed to write. I feel like we all had this telepathic communication going on. Just like those ginkgo trees, apparently trees talk to each other with underground and whatnot.
Wait, what?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a whole, that's a whole new
that's
show.
a different show, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that later.
I know about mushroom root networks and stuff, which
It's all connected.
foraging mushrooms, that is what this game is all about for me. It's the mushroom
I
foraging
feel like
simulator.
this team was so close, we were so close for the last 3 years that we kind of developed this sort of like unspoken communication, and I'm sure that I put some notes that I didn't even know that how it was supposed to mean until it was revealed, but it always had some meaning or places to land. So I was just sort of like a antenna of okay, so just put that note there, put that instrument there, and then you will find out later. I feel like I was guided by the team and by who knows.
The wind.
Yes.
The wind of Yōtei. So when you wrote something like that, again, you're given the brief on it's like very Yojimbo, very sort of like dour. This is kind of like cranky character, and you wrote something so joyful and free. It just feels like the freedom of movement. Was that something where you're like, I bet this could go with the horse riding, or do you have any idea where it would go?
I had quite a bit of information, like verbally from Sucker Punch, the team, and SIE team. This is probably going to be how it's going to look. And I saw you in a computer-generated version of you, which is so surreal to see you in like organic form. It's just like we all exist. But a lot of those bits of hints gave me ideas, and of course the scenery of nature was incredibly gorgeous. I don't think we can see much of this beauty in the real nature nowadays, so that's why people are so like, they dive into this world of the game and they don't want to come out. They don't want to go to work. That's what I heard. Which is a complimentary thing to hear. But those visual ideas and concept ideas and the team sort of like making sure that okay, let's try this, sort of like a set of energy, the vibe. It really helped me to write.
Yeah, I feel like this was kind of an initial like, let's see what Wild West through the lens of feudal Japan would sound like. I don't think this was like, this has to be about Atsu and her torment. I think it was really more like, let's just see what that would sound like. Sure. And it was one of those things of like, oh yeah, when you take acoustic guitar and shamisen and biwa and taiko and smash them together, there's something there. And then it was a matter of us trying to figure out, well, where does it go? And Jason Cannell, one of our creative directors, put it in the announced trailer, and then it was like, okay, we're using it. Let's figure out where else.
Yeah. So you kind of locked yourself into that and the wolf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the wolf was, it was kind of, we had this piece, and it was just such a perfect fit for it.
Yeah, it's the effect is stunning. So I'm very, very glad that that happened. But speaking of the environment and this gorgeous world, this next track very much speaks to that. So we're going to take a listen to track number 2, Wanderer. That was so beautiful. And thank you for the snack. So there are so many different kinds of tracks that you had to create. What was your inspiration for this one?
So this was more of a, Ghost of Yōtei world. There's a lot of battles, a lot of sadness and cruelty and grief and darkness. And this was one of the sort of like peaceful version of the game and the folklore. And it's just sort of like, allowing you to sort of get in touch back with the nature again and kind of be yourself, be by yourself, sort of like to be, fully exploring into the world of nature. I kind of wanted to have that sort of like a really, I don't want to use the word healing so much, but because it should naturally occur, but these days we live in this world of stress that everybody's like, holding on to something for survival. And my hope for writing this was whenever they hear it in the gameplay, you know how like you are so stressed out for like 2 years straight, and then some moment comes in when you get to sigh off like, it's like the real, like your body says, thank you, I finally get to relax. And I was hoping that many people would feel that, listening and playing the game. So that was one of those like, yeah, let's just sort of like get back to what humans are supposed to be, in the nature, and just kind of feeling it and just exploring through it without danger.
Right.
Because we have plenty of those.
That's when another song kicks in.
Yes.
But Brad, speaking of exploration, so much of the game is the open world. It feels like Yōtei and Ezo and the whole environment is another character. So
absolutely.
how did you have the sound reflect that?
Yeah. I mean, I think to Toma's point there, that was a big part of it, was just having beautiful music that reflected the beauty of the world. We knew our environment team is amazing, so of course they're going to make the world beautiful. And so we wanted the music to be evocative of that. And even on the sound design side, we did so much work to just kind of proffer the same level of detail throughout the world, whether it's, the grass blowing and flowers blowing and rain, whatever it was, we had to make sure that, we were matching the beauty of the world, so that, moment to moment you might be in combat, but then when you're not, you can just sit there and listen, and you're hearing the wind and whatever environment that you're in. And Toma's music comes in and everything just kind of sits and coalesces so perfectly. It's a very dynamic mix for the whole game. We are constantly playing with what is the most important thing the player needs to be hearing, and playing around with what the levels are for various categories of sounds. And I think that is one of the strengths, is kind of just making sure, we have hundreds of sounds playing concurrently on top of often the music, and just kind of balancing that at all times to making sure that the most important things for the player are always kind of audible.
Right, because as a player, you need sound cues to, there's enemies nearby, there's a mission, there's a lot of missions you can just stumble across.
Exactly.
And
and then sometimes you just need to chill out. And letting them know, like, hey, this is a time to just relax.
Well, and I think that score very much sort of funnels you into that mindset, because also, even though there are sort of audible cues for fighting or for, the terrifying things that happen on the plains of Ezo, very much that soundtrack will put you in that mindset. Plus, we don't hear it as the tracks are playing now, but there's Foley of just the sounds of nature, the streams, the grass, the horses, I think, and like the cranes flying up. It's interesting. How did you manage the mix with all of those things layered on?
I mean, when you're making a game of this size, you're constantly mixing. The entire process from putting a sound in, you're mixing. And we had a very concerted final mix at the end of the project. It was 6 weeks with a small set of the team, where we really focused on the moment-to-moment gameplay, all the transitions between cinematics and gameplay, and just everything to dial that in. And really what we're after every second of that is, what emotion do we want the player to feel at any given time? And so we're kind of sculpting the sounds that they're going to hear based on that moment to moment.
Toma, so there's obviously a lot of inspiration from the natural landscape, and but you mentioned mythology. Is there in particular any mythology that you were privy to, any of this sort of legendary stories that were able to inspire any wanderer?
No, I just, what I did was I did my best to stay neutral and try not to be sort of like, composers, at least my old habit was, I'm going to write this great music, and then, I put too much whatever into it, and then it becomes unnatural. And the score needs to sound natural and needs to serve the purpose. So I did my best to sort of put my thing aside, and whatever just kind of comes, just let it kind of come through, and don't resist to it. Like, ooh, but if I put this extra note, wouldn't it sound cool? I was like, no, don't do that. I just, don't ruin the nature. So I try to sort of go along with the laws of nature as much as possible.
That's so zen, and that is
it's
so much
Japanese
the
of me to
vibe
say
of.
that,
Yeah,
right?
that was very
I
Japanese.
just came out of that. Yeah.
Incredible.
Maybe my ancestors tapping into me or something.
Yeah, yes, you did the ancestor travel with this one
but
for
stay
sure.
natural.
Yeah.
You will succeed.
Yeah, the ancestors and your host family from Oklahoma.
Yes,
Yes.
they were definitely a help with a strum guitar and things.
Did you have one?
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, you can kind of hear that in especially that last track, but in so much of the score is kind of the level of sparseness is there's so much going on, especially emotionally, but when you kind of deconstruct it in your mind, there's not a ton of instruments ever playing. And that was a purposeful choice that Toma and the PlayStation music team and us had of trying to kind of make a sparser mix of the music, but all of those instruments are doing their part so well that it kind of feels like the game itself, greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, there's a Japanese term, I think, ma, where it's like the sort of silence, like the storytelling in the silence that is very much inherent in that track. But this next track is one of my deep personal favorites, and we're going to take a listen to Atsu's theme. Atsu's theme features Claire Uchima, who unfortunately couldn't be with us here in the studio today, but did record a very special message for all of us.
Hi everyone, this is Claire Uchima. こんにちは、Uchima Clear です。よろしくお願いします。Hello from sunny Japan. Check this beautiful backdrop. Hold on. Ta-da! Unfortunately, it's not Mount Yōtei, but it's second best. It's Mount Fuji. I was just so happy to be invited to collaborate on Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yōtei. And I'm the vocals behind The Way of the Ghost and Atsu's theme and Mother's song. Yeah, just so I loved being involved. Thank you so much for having me. And congratulations on the launch. I'm sorry I'm not there with you, but I am in spirit. I loved working on the lyrics with this one. It was a bit of a collaboration with my father, who loves the ancient Japanese language, and he helped me with traditional old school Japanese. I hope that this game and soundtrack is received well. I know it will be. And congratulations again. Sorry I'm not there.
Thank you so much, Claire.
Thanks, Claire.
I am a huge fan if you're watching this. So, Atsu's theme, Claire, I collaborated on the lyrics for it as well. And it's, as she said, in sort of an older version of Japanese. But how did that collaboration happen?
So I wrote that originally for the instrumentation, and SIE team said, hey, you know, we're going to make a song into this. And they've introduced me to Claire. I instantly loved her work. I heard what she did on Ghost of Tsushima and other things on YouTube, and like, wow, she sounds so great. And then we met online, you know, on Zoom, and we just really instantly got along. And I don't write lyrics as of now. My words are very immature, so I wouldn't dare write lyrics. But then she was great with it, and then she collaborated with her father, who specializes in ancient Japanese languages. So he could correct and make everything so accurate to the time period, and that's what made this song special. Was that the lyrics were so like right in the era of the period. And the melody was sort of like, I think this was like, I don't know if I could reveal this, but it was like my third demo. Of course, the first and the second, I derailed and wrote something else that now looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? But the producer Peter Scaturo and Keith Berry and the SI team, I'm so thankful that they're here to like support me so that I don't like fall off the cliff. I was like, hey, we're looking for this, and Brad will talk about the certain style that originated from was that Hako Yamazaki's song from the 70s. And they reminded me, hey, remember we talked about this? And this is the style, can you try something? And again, this was the version that I was trying least to be impressive, but it just came naturally. And of course, that got approved. So it's like universes keep on trying to tell me, stop trying, just kind of do what you do naturally. Right. And Claire really performed amazingly. I couldn't have imagined, until how she sounded in the actual recording. I was like, oh my God, like I wrote the melody and she sang it. This is the song, and it's just so, it's so Japanese at the same time. It's so half Western, and it feels like we just hit the right spot.
Yeah, it's exactly the right tone. But yeah, I guess let that be a lesson to everybody to just kind of let go, just trust yourself. But both in terms of the lyrics and in the sort of melody of it all, it very much conveys Atsu's themes, that sort of grow throughout the narrative of the story. Yeah. What did you want? Did you send that sort of story beat to the team and say, we want it to feel like this?
Yeah, I mean, we sent kind of Atsu's arc. To Toma and also to Claire as she was writing the lyrics, just to kind of give her a sense of what we were after. And really what she kind of ended up with was, obviously, was perfect. And actually, I'm going to do a spoiler now.
Yeah, I was going to ask if I could talk about
put your fingers in your ears if you haven't played the game or haven't gotten very far.
This is I'm so serious right now. This is a big spoiler. So if you have not gotten there, do not listen to this, and I will wave my arms when it is safe for you to listen again.
Okay.
But if you've gotten, I don't know, probably like halfway through the game.
It really depends on how much you. But
okay.
Okay. So Atsu's theme appears as this in 2 different places in the game, and the first one we did pretty early, which is when you are entering Ishikari Plain for the first time, and you've just realized that this samurai guy that you were riding with is your brother. And Atsu she was convinced she was an orphan. She had been alone for 16 years, and then she figures out her brother, her twin brother, is still alive, and he's here. And not quite sure how to repair that relationship, if it could even be repaired. And you could see the lyrics on the screen, about the twin wolves, twin hearts, each dealing with their own loss. And so this was kind of the beginning of Atsu's wolf pack of, I'm not alone, but still trying to navigate what that relationship was going to look like with her brother. And then at the end of the game, we recontextualized those lyrics so that Jubei and her wolf pack has now been kidnapped, and Atsu is on a desperate chase to get them back before they die. And we play that same song, and as you play, seeing the lyrics on screen completely recontextualizes it, because now it's no longer about her loss as she was, but about her prospective loss if she loses her wolf pack again. And it was really just because of the beautiful melody and the beautiful lyrics that we were able to kind of create this moment that had such emotional weight in the game, and then be able to reuse it in a completely unique way later on. And it was just super fortuitous.
So knowing the story beats, but not having heard the melody or seen the segment where it is essentially a music video as you're running through the plains, imagine my surprise and the feelings in my heart seeing those lyrics appear and sort of seeing them and hearing them translated for the first time.
I bet you cried.
It was devastating, Brad. So, okay, everybody, I think we're back now. If you're okay, if you have, you can come back if you haven't played. But I highly encourage you to keep that melody and those lyrics in mind while you are playing through the game, because, oh boy, are they relevant. But I'm sorry, you were mentioning there was a song that was a touchstone for you about, what was...
So it was actually a Japanese artist who's still around, still performing. Her name is Hako Yamasaki, and she started out in the 70s as a Japanese folk singer. And when we were first thinking about what music was going to be in Ghost of Yōtei, Jason Connell, our creative director, asked me, like, hey, can you find some Japanese folk music? And he was actually the one who found Hako, and she had this amazing record in 1975 called Tobimasu. And we listened to it and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing work. It's just singer-songwriter, just her and her guitar singing exceptionally sorrowful music. And that kind of became this touchstone, and music that we played for Wataru of, like, we want there to be some music like this in the game, just very sparse with very emotional lyrics. We would have loved to use Hako's music, but all of her music was about being a jilted lover and not really appropriate for the game and the plot. But I think that he really did a great job of encapsulating the spirit of what Hako Yamasaki's music is, especially with Atsu's theme. And with Mother's Song as well, if you get the soundtrack yourself.
That's crazy, because I always make a playlist for characters that I play that sort of like I listen to in the car to hype myself up and sort of like zero in. And Toby Moss is on there. And I did not know this story until just now. So, yeah, we're the ginkgo trees, guys. Oh, my God. That's wild. Okay, well, I love leitmotifs are different themes that are associated with specific characters or places or moments. And I would love for all of you to keep in mind, if you've played the game, the different characters that the leitmotifs show up for in our next track, the Yōtei 6.
I guess we should have had a spoiler warning on the whole time.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sorry.
Well, wow. Can you walk us through a little bit about crafting the different characters into that track?
Yeah, so this was the villain's theme, but instead of writing something completely scary and just pure evil, I feel like every villain has a place that came from. There's a reason why they became a jerk, so to speak.
Sure.
So, but I'm sure they have some kind of humanity left in them. I think which you will kind of see in the gameplay as well. You get to feel that they're actual humans with a background. So I wanted to make sure to have that characteristics in those villains theme while they're stylized and villainy sound, and at the same time very cool. So that was sort of like the assignment I felt like I had to accomplish, and of course, with the help of the team, I was able to pull it out of God knows what, but and I want to mention something that the soloist who played on these tracks, the biwa, you know, gang, 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 with so much overtone. It's like ridiculously like unique, and it's just instant sort of like a gravity. I think it grabs you. And shamisen is done by Yutaka Oyama, who's done like what 2.5 hours of score. He played through those, soundtracks. And also when Justin Johnson came in to play the lap steel, that really added so much character. When I heard Justin perform, it just gave me goosebumps. I was like, oh my God, this is so Yōtei 6. And it's, I mean, the level of coolness, I can only pull so much. I mean, I'm only like about maybe 35%, but like the soloist and the orchestra and the whole team, everybody just kind of helps me just, raise the bar to 100. And that's the result of this teamwork, is that all the brilliant soloists and the whole team, and I want to mention orchestrators and music prep. I mean, the list goes on. Just sort of, give everybody a sort of like a limelight.
I think we have sort of this myth of the auteur frequently, and because we can only have like so many people sit on the couch. But in reality, it really, like, games, I think almost more than any other medium, are such a collaborative process. And you wrote this incredible score, but yeah, the soloists and the orchestration and the arrangement and the way it's mixed and everything, it's such an incredible, monumental group effort. So but groups, what do each of the Yōtei 6 represent?
They more represent kind of collectively, I think, Atsu's loss of innocence. And that's also why we chose, rather than giving each one their own melody, we just have the Yōtei 6 theme. And obviously that culminates with Saito, the main villain, but all the other boss fights, Toma actually did score unique songs or cues for those boss fights, but we were always kind of calling back to the Yōtei 6 theme, because just like we're constantly calling back to Atsu's theme in the various cues that kind of feature her, or we're wanting to kind of push forward her story, we always wanted that to be the collective Yōtei 6 theme. And I mean, it's such a great, great melody and just a great theme that, we really wanted to keep hearing it because it's so great.
Leitmotifs. It's so interesting to me that I feel like the biwa is that wow 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 sounds so similar, or it is sort of spiritually similar to Western sort of guitar and this like slide, and it's like, was that intentional?
No, I mean, there were a lot of new discoveries as the process of the scoring, composing. I wasn't too familiar with biwa. I knew that existed and I knew how it sounded, but I didn't know biwa could do that. I put that in a demo anyways. I was kind of, good luck, gonna play it. And then the end result was like, oh my God, biwa sounds so good. And shamisen too, I didn't know shamisen could do certain things. Put that down in a demo anyways. And then at the recording session, I was like, ooh, I wonder if the soloist is gonna kill me. But then you just really pulled it up, like, it's like nothing. It's like, but it's just, they're so brilliant. So yeah, it was quite a new discovery. And I think that biwa with overtones and how rugged it sounds has this sort of like a similar vibe to the Wild West. And of course, the Wild West part was done by Justin Johnson's lap steel, which was like so authentic.
Well, and I've told this story before, but it's definitely pertinent to this in that, the way that we record when we're recording the score is we record, an instrument or a group of instruments, and then that's now kind of printed, and so everybody else who's recording after that, we have that instrument instead of, the temp instruments we were using. And I remember specifically when we were recording the biwa player in Tokyo, and we were all online remote, and Justin had already recorded the lap steel part, and just hearing the lap steel underneath the biwa as the biwa player was recording, everybody was like, oh my gosh, I don't know that I've ever heard those two instruments played together before, and wow, that sounds amazing.
The thing that freaked me out was hearing, so the mukuri is a traditional Ainu instrument, which is essentially a mouth harp, that boing oing 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 that you always hear in Western soundtracks, because we have the jaw harp or the mouth harp here in America. And it's the same instrument and the same sound, but just on completely different sides of the world. And so you have that very authentic, like Ainu music that somehow has this same very strange instrument as like an American Western sound. So that was something that I learned while I was doing this.
And the Ainu also have their own guitar called the tonkori, which we did also use in the score as well. And it also, is very much like almost a cross between a shamisen and a guitar. And it's this beautiful, multi-string fretless wooden instrument. And just all those synergies are part of the joy of finding what the score is going to be.
Yeah, the tonkori is featured as like an item in the game, and also when I was in Hokkaido, I saw Fender, I believe, made one electric tonkori for an Ainu
Oki.
band. I'm so sorry, I forget the name of it.
It's probably Oki's.
Yes, yes.
Oki was our tonkori player.
What? Incredible.
Who else would you use? I mean, he's
that's
the best.
true. It's when you're like the top in your field, you gotta get them. But this final track is going to be sort of a summation of all of it. It is the Ghost of Yōtei with the featured musicians. absolutely phenomenal. Would you like to, either of you, sort of shout out any of the team that you haven't gotten a chance to? Like, this is non-exclusive. This is a non-exhaustive list, but just anything that you'd like to add about certain things that inspired parts of the score, or where you really saved your butt in a particular moment.
Well, everybody pretty much saved my butt constantly for the last 2.5 years because, I do need help from the team to accomplish anything of this scale. So I'm very thankful. Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Jason, who's not here. And also, I'd like to thank Peter Scuturo, Keith Leary, and the entire SIE team who helped me out. Chad Cannon, the orchestrator. I mean, list goes on. I need like an hour and a half to mention everybody, but unfortunately, I have like 30 seconds. So, I'd like to thank my entire music team and the orchestra in London and choir in London who did awesome. We didn't hear this, but there a whistling part that done by the choir with the Matsumai clan track, right? So hopefully y'all listen to the soundtrack and hope you enjoy. And I think I hope I'm allowed to say this, real quick. But aside from this particular soundtrack album, there are other few artists who collaborated on the Watanabe mode.
Yes,
are
please.
great artists who did lo-fi mode, which sounded great, and there are some special tracks of shamisen done by Masato Shibata. So I want to give everybody a shout out and a spotlight on them as well, because I think we as a collective created this entire project. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you, and thank you everybody, and thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah. Thank you so much to the entire team.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Watanabe mode. Okay, and Brad is
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly as Toma's been saying, it is a truly collaborative effort, and I would not be able to name everybody here in the time that we have, but our music team. And some of them are here, Andrew Baresh, Sonia Coronado, Kelvin Yuen, Scott Shoemaker, Monty Mudd. They did so much to bring this score to life in the game, and that's something that most people don't quite understand or realize the scope of what goes into that. And that is a transformative thing, to take this beautiful score that Toma has written and to make every kind of possible edit that we didn't even think was possible, to kind of really make players feel what they need to feel at every given moment. And of course, the score itself is also, Chad Cannon, our orchestrator, and Kellogg Boynton, our principal engineer, did so much to make those soloists shine at every moment that we needed to. And all of these people are so responsible for how amazing the score is, and just how proud we at Sucker Punch are of this. I know Jason Cannell really wanted to be here today, and unfortunately he's sick. And the thing that he told me last night was, I am so bummed to miss this, because out of everything, one of the things I'm most proud of this game, and this is saying a lot, is the music. And I completely agree. I mean, the score really speaks for itself.
Thank you, both of you, for being here, and to everybody in the audience, and who also, many of you who worked on it. It's phenomenal. And thank you so much to everybody who joined us for the stream. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Toma.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you to Sucker Punch and to Sony. Please go listen, play Ghost of Yōtei. I'm Erica Ishii, and I'd like to thank you all so much for joining us.
All right. Let's play some Yojiki now.